OK, we'll press on with a big news story. The US Justice Department has released more than 3 million pages of documents related to the late sex offender and paedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, among the releases is an email exchange between Epstein and the Duke, thought to be Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, who has previously denied any claims of wrongdoing.
Meanwhile, it's also emerged that Epstein sent £10,000 to Peter Mandelson's partner back in 2009.
Well, a statement on behalf of Lord Mandelson said he'd been very clear about his friendship with Epstein and had nothing more to add.
It is also worth noting that appearing in the files doesn't imply wrongdoing, but may be embarrassing for some. And there are some big names gradually coming out, although obviously they've got their lawyers very active on this as well, which is why you won't find a lot of names being named. But, of course, Andrew is already involved and has been for a few years now. Yeah. Let's talk to royal commentator Richard Palmer. Morning, Richard. Of course, Andrew's face spread all over the front pages this morning. Still, I mean, as little bits and pieces come out, it's still horrendously embarrassing for the royal family, isn't it?
I think you're right. I'm sure royal aides will be trying to hide the television remote and the morning papers from the King and other members of the family this morning. It's a scandal that won't go away. I think many people would say the British government also has questions to answer about Andrew's role when he was a trade envoy. But clearly the palace has tried to distance itself from Andrew by defenestrating him, by stripping him of his honours. But more and more revelations keep coming out, and they drive a bigger hole in his story when he gave that television interview in 2019 that he'd essentially decided to end his friendship with Epstein and had gone over to New York in December 2010 to end it. But we see that there was a very close relationship still with them in the months following his release from house arrest in, I think, July 2010. You've got evidence that Andrew was inviting him to Buckingham Palace, that Epstein was setting him up with a Russian woman who appears to be called Irina, and the same woman, or a woman with the same name, is also linked to another a businessman friend of Epstein's. There are very difficult questions here that need to be answered, I think. One of the issues is that Ghislaine Maxwell is currently in prison on sex trafficking charges. The US authorities were hoping to launch a wider investigation into claims that she and Epstein were operating a sex ring of providing women for wealthy men.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Do these emails show that Ghislaine Maxwell was procuring women for Andrew in that context, or is she just an old friend who's finding women, who she thinks would be interesting company for her old friend? That's possibly one for the lawyers to sort out. You've also got Andrew's role as trade envoy on Christmas Eve 2010. So after he'd been to New York allegedly to end his friendship with Epstein, he's writing an email to Epstein, sending confidential material about efforts to rebuild the economy in Helmand province in Afghanistan. Again, is he doing that because he's trying to use his business contacts to find money for Afghanistan, or is he trying to create business deals for his friends that are going to make his friends wealthier? Lots of serious questions to answer, I think.
Richard, I mean, we've obviously seen with previous releases of files that the original explanation that Andrew had come up with, that he was distancing himself from Jeffrey Epstein, had been undermined by those releases. Are these latest releases actually telling us anything new? It's just more of the same, isn't it?
I think some people might say that. I think that Afghanistan email is really interesting. I think there's just a growing body of evidence that Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein were finding women for Andrew. You go back to the last cache of emails and correspondence that was released. There was one from 2002, I think, where Andrew was going to Peru and she was trying to find some girls for him. I think as each release happens, the evidence is more damning, and I think there will be MPs and peers at Westminster who will again be arguing that there needs to be some bigger public inquiry or parliamentary inquiry into what was going on with Andrew all that time. And I think one of the awful things for the royal household is that in April, we're all going to be marking and celebrating, many of us, I guess, the 100th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's birth. There'll be all sorts of events marking that. But this affair is really tarnishing her reputation because, I've spoken to a friend of the King who said he and Prince William were urging her to act to stop Andrew, to remove him much earlier, and she wouldn't do it. So her judgment is in question, and I think they risk tarnishing her reputation.
Oh, I don't think we want to question Queen Elizabeth's judgment. Surely she just presumably came from a generation where you didn't believe that of your own son, or you just didn't want to hear it. Very upsetting for her. And in a way, at least she's not around to read these awful headlines. Yeah. It must be terrible. I keep thinking of his daughters as well and how awful it must be for them. But it's just horribly distasteful. Thank you so much, Richard, for giving us your take on that. And now I think everybody can breathe a sigh of relief that we'll move on to something else.
Appreciate your insight, Richard. I mean, listen, I've just got to say with this whole thing, I know that there are important issues at play here. There are victims of just what this horrible individual Jeffrey Epstein did. But, you've got so much of the establishment media just salivating over every release, looking for more in the way of evidence to bury Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, who obviously denies any wrongdoing here. And, of course, in Trump. And in Trump, they find nothing of interest, it seems, in the latest documents that have been released. I just, wish that perhaps those media outlets had been as determined to uncover the wrongdoing that we saw with the grooming gangs in this country, where for decades these young women were just abused and ignored by those in authority.
Sensational headlines.
No, it doesn't.
And you can't use a picture of a royal. And I just find the media obsession a bit distasteful.
Well, I feel ashamed actually at times when I see, you know, the way that, as I say, they salivate over stories like this and yet completely ignore real moral outrages such as the grooming gangs.